Let's imagine you are lost deep in the Sahara Desert. The heat is a physical weight pressing down on you under a white-hot sun. You look out over an endless ocean of sand dunes, waves of dust stretching to the horizon. You make the difficult decision to push through the blistering heat, climbing over a massive ridge into a secluded, rocky canyon. You might think all you would find in such a barren place are tiny, inconspicuous insects hiding under pebbles, or perhaps a few small lizards darting between the shadows. But what you actually discover is far more surprising and perhaps even intimidating. Centipedes with bodies as long as your forearm are crawling across the scorching rocks. Lizards larger than domestic dogs are slowly patrolling the dry clay beds. And even the most familiar insects, which you would expect to be tiny to avoid the heat, are abnormally large. These creatures are real. The hyper-arid, high-temperature, resource-scarce environment of the Sahara has led evolution down an unexpected path. This is the world of desert gigantism, an evolutionary phenomenon that remains unfamiliar to many because it occurs in one of the most hostile, competitive, and isolated regions on Earth. You might assume that in an environment where animals must constantly struggle for water, shade, and food, natural selection would favor smaller bodies. A smaller animal requires fewer calories, can find shelter in tiny crevices, and seems better suited to hide from the sun. Yet, the opposite often happens. For certain groups of animals, the desert acts as an evolutionary pressure cooker, pushing them to become larger, longer, and more robust than their relatives living in temperate zones. It transforms small organisms into large ones, and turns large organisms into giants. To understand how desert giantism operates, we can look at one of its clearest examples, the desert monitor lizard, Varanus grisis. Many people view the desert monitor lizard as simply a large lizard, but its physical design is far more complex than a simple increase in scale. Desert monitors are found throughout the arid regions of North Africa and the Middle East, living in environments where temperatures routinely exceed 45 degrees Celsius, 113 degrees Fahrenheit, and water is virtually non-existent for months at a time. Because of the extreme heat and dry air, everything in this environment risks drying out. To survive, the desert monitor has developed specialized physical traits. Monitors belong to the family Varanati, a group of lizards known for their active hunting style and high metabolic rates relative to other reptiles. Why do these desert-dwelling lizards grow up to 1.5 meters, nearly 5 feet in length, while most other desert lizards remain small enough to fit in the palm of your hand? The answer lies in the physics of thermal regulation and energy conservation. In a hyper-arid desert environment, being small is not always an advantage. A small lizard has a high surface area to volume ratio, meaning it heats up very quickly when exposed to the sun and loses its moisture rapidly through its skin and respiration. The desert monitor's larger body size provides a thermal buffer. Its low surface area to volume ratio means it heats up much slower during the hottest parts of the day, which allows it to remain active and hunt for longer periods before its internal temperature reaches dangerous levels. Furthermore, it has not sacrificed its stealth. Its long, slender body is covered in pale yellow and gray scales, patterned with dark bands that break up its outline against the sand and gravel. This coloration allows it to blend into the desert landscape, making it difficult for both prey and potential predators to detect. When you reach this size in the desert, you have few natural predators. Aside from birds of prey or the occasional desert fox, a mature desert monitor is one of the dominant predators of its territory. Its physical structure is designed for endurance hunting and ambush rather than rapid escape. The size of the desert monitor is not solely determined by food availability. The primary driver is the physical environment itself. Deserts are systems characterized by extreme temperature fluctuations. While the daytime heat is intense, the lack of cloud cover and moisture causes temperatures to drop rapidly at night, sometimes reaching near freezing levels. For a cold-blooded animal, this daily cycle is highly demanding. A small reptile becomes cold and sluggish quickly after sunset, making it vulnerable to nocturnal predators. A larger reptile, however, retains the heat it absorbed during the day, much longer into the night. This thermal retention allows the desert monitor to remain active after dusk, giving it an advantage when hunting nocturnal rodents and insects. In resource-poor environments, food is not evenly distributed. It is highly seasonal and scattered over vast distances. A small animal is limited to how far it can travel to find food or water. A giant, on the contrary, can cover miles of territory in a single day. Its large stride and more efficient energy expenditure per unit of body mass allow it to search wide areas. When it does find food, its large stomach can accommodate meals that represent a significant portion of its own body weight, storing that energy as fat to survive the lean months of summer or winter dormancy. Over millions of years, these pressures have pushed desert reptiles to maximize their size within the limits of their environment, creating large predators like the monitor lizard out of smaller ancestors. This evolutionary pressure is not limited to vertebrates. If we look at the invertebrates of the Sahara, the trend of desert giantism becomes even more pronounced. Consider the solifugi, commonly known as camel spiders or wind scorpions. In temperate grasslands, solifugids are relatively small, often measuring only a few centimeters in length. In the heart of the Sahara, however, they can grow to outstanding sizes, with leg spans reaching up to 15 centimeters, 6 inches. These fierce nocturnal predators have powerful jaws that can open wide enough to bite through small rodents, birds, and lizards, much larger than themselves. Their bodies are designed for rapid hunting and prey capture in the open desert, rather than relying solely on stealth. The insects of the Sahara also demonstrate the benefits of larger body size. The Sahara Desert is home to several large ground beetles, such as the Anthea genus, often referred to as saber-toothed ground beetles or predatory land beetles. In temperate climates, ground beetles are usually small, dark insects that run through the leaf litter. In the Sahara, Anthea beetles grow up to several centimeters in length, equipped with heavy armor and large mandibles. For these beetles, a larger size serves multiple purposes. Leg length and heat mitigation. Their long legs lift their body high off the desert sand. On a hot afternoon, the temperature of the sand surface can be 15 to 20 degrees hotter than the air just a few centimeters above it. By growing longer legs and a larger body, the beetle stays in a cooler microclimate, allowing it to hunt during midday when smaller insects are forced to hide. Defense against desiccation. The larger body volume allows it to store more water internally. Its thick fused elida, wing cases, trap a layer of humid air over its spiracles, breathing pores, reducing water loss during respiration. Predatory dominance. Their size allows them to overpower other desert insects, crushing them with powerful jaws and spraying formic acid to deter larger predators. To fully understand why the Sahara produces these specialized adaptations, we must look into the region's deep past. The Sahara was not always an ocean of sand. Over millions of years, the climate of North Africa has fluctuated between hyper-arid desert and lush green savannas. During the African humid periods, the most recent of which ended only about 5,000 years ago, the Sahara was filled with massive lakes, rivers, and grasslands. This fertile environment supported some of the largest animals to ever walk the earth. During the Cretaceous period, North Africa was home to Spinosaurus, the largest known carnivorous dinosaur, which hunted in the massive river systems that crossed what is now Algeria and Egypt. Alongside it lived Sarcosuchus imperator, commonly known as the supercroc, a relative of modern crocodilians that grew up to 12 meters in length and weighed several tons. When the climate dried out and the rivers disappeared, these massive aquatic and semi-aquatic animals went extinct. But the evolutionary pressure for size did not vanish, it simply shifted. The animals that remained had to adapt to a drying landscape. Large mammalian herbivores like the ancestors of the dromedary camel developed the ability to store vast amounts of fat in humps and go without water for weeks at a time. The modern giants of the Sahara are the survivors of this paleoclimatic transition. They carry the evolutionary legacy of an environment that has repeatedly swung between abundance and extreme scarcity, forcing animals to adapt to both states. Even on a microscopic scale, the Sahara pushes animals to become larger than their relatives. The Saharan desert ant, Cataglyphus bicolor, is one of the most heat-tolerant creatures known. While most ants are small and stay close to their nests, the Saharan desert ant has evolved exceptionally long legs, making it a giant among ants. These long legs serve as stilts. When the desert surface reaches temperatures of up to 70 degrees Celsius, 158 degrees Fahrenheit, the ant runs across the hot sand on its long legs, keeping its body elevated in the cooler air currents. The ant's larger body also increases its running speed, allowing it to navigate the dunes quickly to forage for dead insects before returning to the safety of its underground nest. While the Sahara has produced many large animals, it has also led to the opposite phenomenon: desert dwarfism. In some cases, the scarcity of resources is so extreme that growing larger is not a viable option. For these species, survival depends on shrinking to minimize energy and water requirements. The fennec fox, Vulpes zerda, is a classic example of desert dwarfism. It is the smallest of all canid species, weighing only about 1 to 1.5 kilograms, 2 to 3 pounds. Its small body requires very little food and water, allowing it to survive on insects, small rodents, and desert plants. However, even the fennec fox exhibits a form of localized gigantism: its ears. The fox's ears can grow up to 15 centimeters, 6 inches long, almost half the length of its body. These massive ears act as natural radiators, filled with blood vessels that dissipate body heat into the air, keeping the fox cool without the need to sweat or pant, which would waste precious water. Evolutionary strategies of desert gigantism have allowed these animals to survive in one of the most demanding landscapes on Earth for millions of years. However, their highly specialized adaptations make them vulnerable to rapid environmental changes. The Sahara is currently expanding due to climate change and human activities such as overgrazing and deforestation along its edges. While a large body size provides advantages in a stable desert environment, it becomes a liability when resources disappear completely. A large animal like the desert monitor or the Saharan cheetah requires a large home range and a reliable prey base to survive. As the desert becomes more fragmented and prey species decline, these giants face a difficult path to survival.